with Scott Allen.
Hello, I am your host, Scott Allen, and this is Phronesis, Practical Wisdom for Leaders. If the topic is leadership, I'm in. I've spent more than 20 years in the field teaching, learning, writing, and questioning. When I'm not working on Phronesis, I travel, delivering keynotes, working with individuals and teams, and helping people from organizations across industries become better leaders. Want to learn more? Visit me at scottjallen.net. Phronesis offers a smart, fast-paced discussion about all things leadership. We explore relevant topics and incorporate practical tips to help you make a difference in how you lead and live. Listen Notes lists Phronesis in the top 3% of podcasts worldwide. Phronesis is the official podcast of the International Leadership Association. ILA brings together those who teach, study, and develop leadership, advancing leadership knowledge and practice for a better world. Learn more at ila-net.org. Finally, if you enjoy Phronesis, please subscribe to stay current on our weekly episodes. If you find an episode that resonates, please share it with your colleagues and friends. And if you want more content, subscribe to my newsletter, The Leader's Edge. The link is in the show notes. As always, thanks for listening. And now, here's today's show. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Phronesis podcast. Today, I have Nidhi Pant, and she is the co-founder of Science for Society, S4S Technologies. Nidhi works at the intersection of agriculture, gender, energy access, and financial inclusion. S4S Technologies is a near-farm gate food processing platform converting farm losses to value-added products for the F&B industry. S4S products save time, cost, and energy for industrial customers. S4S trains smallholder women farmers to be entrepreneurs by providing the right combination of technology, finance, and market, and increasing their household income by 100 to 200% annually. S4S is working with over 20,000 farmers and 800 women entrepreneurs, and in the process, they save over 300,000 tons of CO2 from entering the environment. You are doing good work in the world. She's a winner of the Women Transforming India Awards. She has also been listed in Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia and India. She's the winner of Unilever's Young Entrepreneur Award in 2019. She was also named Emerging Innovator of the Year at the inaugural edition of the Economic Times Women Leadership Awards. Nidhi holds a bachelor in chemical technology from the Institute of Chemical Technology. What else do people need to know about you? You have incredible things going on. Thank you so much for being here, Nidhi. And what else do we need to know about you?
Thanks, Scott. Some other things that everyone wants to should know about me is that I'm a big Bollywood buff. So I watch a lot of cinema. Indian movies with song and dance is something that I enjoy. And I love my pet. She's called Toto. I got transformed to be a pet parent recently.
Oh, a pet and a fan of the cinema, Bollywood. I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, I have a colleague at John Carroll, and her father was a director in the films in Bollywood. And I, of course, do not know his name, but we were talking about that, and she was sharing with me that whole industry because I knew so little about it. But that's awesome. I also love film. Tell us a little bit about the origin story of what it is that you are leading. And I know you're co-leading, you're a co-founder, so this is a team effort. But tell us a little bit about the origin story because you're doing incredible good in the world.
Thank you. I think the origin story is as interesting as the business, where we were a group of college students working on different ideas, having different approaches and strengths, but united with the common purpose where we wanted to use our scientific knowledge in service of people. So that was something which was motivated all of us. And we were all working on different prototypes, and we believed that it would be more powerful for all of us to come together and work on one big idea and solve a big problem. And that's when we decided to unite and form S for S. It stands for Science for Society.
Science for Society. Now, talk about some of the different, your description almost made me think of the Avengers, which is in the States, the superheroes. What were some of the superpowers that each of you brought to the table that has helped create this organization doing great good?
Sure. All of us have very unique, different strengths and are very complementary also. One of us is a great innovator, my colleague Swapnal Kokate. So he likes to do things hands-on, can make or solve any problem just using his technical skills. So everything what a college doesn't teach you is something that he does, and his thinking is really out of the box.
Nice.
So that actually is his strength. My other colleague, who's Vaibhav, is a very amicable leader, where we have learned so many things from him, where he has no amount of ego. He looks at always the brighter side in people. He respects people fundamentally, whether they come from different background, caste, or language, but his approach is always consistently looking at those superpowers in others. So his superpower is discovering superpower in other people. My other colleague, who's Ganesh, his strength is to get everything executed. So managing people, day-to-day tasks, looking at different ways through which things should be done, and in the right way, getting the team aligned, solving for very difficult problems. We work in a very difficult terrain where things can be really challenging, both in terms of operations as well as people management. So his superpower is execution. My other colleagues, Sheetal and Tushar, they are very customer oriented. They like to look at customer at the center and then build up the model. My colleague Ashwin is really great in partnerships. I bring business and financial lens into the problem and look at how things can be integrated for impact as well as profit. So people and profit with purpose both. So these are, and I think my superpower is definitely the energy that I bring to the team. Yes, we have to do this.
Well, that's wonderful. Hey, energy. I released a podcast with, he's a chemist by training, but he teaches at the Center for Creative Leadership in the United States. His name is Todd Deal. For listeners, you could go listen to that episode. But he shared this term. In chemistry, there's a term called activation energy. And it's the energy required to transform. And obviously, given your background, you probably are familiar with this concept. But yes, you need that spark. You need that person to help transform the molecules. Well, what have you learned about yourself as a leader in this process? Because obviously, the work that you and the team are doing is really, really making a difference in the world. What have you learned about yourself that maybe a few years ago you weren't aware of?
Definitely. I think the thing that I've learned about myself is that I'm very resilient. I never believed in myself, and I thought that when I graduated with engineering degree, I was also like my other classmates who were looking at really a very successful career which would pay well as give you like good brand names. And I cannot believe that today I am working in Aurangabad. I'm born and brought up in, I have been raised in Bombay. I was a city girl. I could not believe that I could go to Aurangabad, and Aurangabad is 300 kilometers from Bombay, 8 hours drive. And work in the villages. I couldn't believe that about myself, that I will be able to last here with different background, with different language, and people would accept me. As well as in the whole process, I wasn't sure whether I will be able to put so many years. I think when I was young, I wanted to achieve everything really quickly. I didn't appreciate the long game and thought like time period for every experiment in life is three years maximum. And today, after 7 years, I'm still learning more and more, and I'm not done yet. So these are the two things. One is that I wasn't sure whether I will be able to play the long game, and I will, because I thought I was very fickle-minded to keep on, moving to the next things. And the second is that I will be able to adjust in a very, very diverse background.
Well, and I love your framing of the long game, because obviously you are working on and trying to address some centuries old, in some cases, norms, and shifting some of those norms. And I guess what I would love to explore a little bit more in our time is talk a little bit about the opportunity that you're addressing. What is the opportunity? What is that ideal future state that you all see that we could be living into? And then what have you learned about that? What are some of the barriers that you see that we have to figure out? I mean, I love the kind of imagery of that team. This is the individual who thinks outside of the box, and this is the individual who is really focused on customer being at the center, and I am the spark. Take us into the opportunity that you're addressing, because I have to imagine the resilience and the grit and the stick-to-itiveness that's required from the work that you're doing. Because again, you're pushing on some very old norms that are entrenched in societies.
Thanks, God. I think that's a really nice way of putting it. Very importantly, the big vision that we are chasing is more equitable future for farmers, and a place where we see a very transformative food system where there is no food wastage and everyone has access to good food. And at the same time, women being at the center of this, driving this, women having same opportunities as men and have the same decision making as men. So 3 things that we are targeting is lesser amount of carbon dioxide, greenhouse gases in the environment through new ways of processing. So a better food system is created, which is more planet friendly. And also there is lesser amount of food wastage. So that is for the environment, what our vision is. At the same time, for people, it is more farmers come out of poverty and more women are at the center of decision making.
Wonderful objectives, wonderful goals that make a difference in our world. What are you seeing? I would love to hear a story of maybe you've witnessed that moment when someone's life is transformed, when they build that identity that they can do this work, that they can make this happen. I would love to hear that. And then what are some of the challenges that you just keep seeing day in, day out that you have to figure out a way around, through, over to get to the next level?
I would start by addressing the challenges. And apart from the wastage, which you would have also seen a lot of times in marketplaces or know about, the state of farmers in developing countries like India, I would really want to take you through the life of a woman in a village who's married young, who has kids, lives in a joint family. It's a small 2-acre farm, which is shared between 3 brothers. As more and more generations come in, the land is not enough to meet the requirements of the family, and the men is migrating to cities in search of alternate income options. Farming is not viable because of fragmentation of the landholding. The women is staying at home, is responsible for everything, starting from what's happening at the farm, working at the farm, and also what happens in the household. She is laborious, has to do all sort of work. Her day starts early. She has to take care of her kids, provide for them, manage resources, whatever is available. And in some cases, or I would say, like I say, in most cases, also deal with men who are not contributing to the household income because they spend everything on alcohol or other leisure activities. So the cash is difficult to come inside her home. And in all this situation, the woman has no means or of to go outside her home, talk to others. Maximum proximity is of the neighbors that are there in her village. So she's really sometimes don't have mobile phone, is dependent on the male member, cannot travel outside the village. How will she travel? The only way to commute is either through a personal vehicle like a motorcycle or a state-owned bus, where there are so many patriarchal and taboos and as well as norms in these villages where women cannot go alone outside, should be accompanied by a male member, and these are also sometimes stemming from really good incident, like past incidents that have put women in a very vulnerable and risky positions. They have this fear, and the conclusion all of this is that they have never found their confidence. They don't have any agency. They are intuitively so smart, but are always reminded that they are not equal to the other males, and there is no rational reason for it. It is just something that they see around, and something that they have accepted that they are subpar to the male members, and they need consent of the male member for everything. So her life is actually in granularity, and I can keep going on and on. Her life is difficult, the way she's raising her kids. But at the same time, there's a big brighter side of it, where she also has this willpower as well as strong intent to work and take her family out of it. If she has not been educated, she wants her children to study in good schools. She wants to do everything for her family selflessly, and she is ready to accommodate or work whatever in her limited barriers, that the challenges that she is having, she's ready to take them up and work in the constraints that she's present. So this is the situation. I feel what we do is just looking at the world in a more equitable manner, where we do not believe that everyone is equal. The starting point is not equal. People have to be provided with what they need, not say that this is how it should be. They need to come to that level. We fundamentally believe that we need to go to their level and solve for them with whatever they require.
So basically, you're meeting them where they are, and the messaging isn't too far a bridge from where they are. Is that accurate?
Yes. We don't expect them to be at a level and say that, hey, you can enter our ecosystem only if you have these 10 criteria. We give them what they want, they need. First constraint that we were solving for is that they require employment or work throughout the year, not in bits and pieces. And they also want this to be done by staying home, because the other alternate options are either traveling outside the village, or they have to stay outside their home for a longer period of time, say 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And it should be something which is an easier task for them to execute, and they should not feel threatened by using technology. So we said, yes, there's food wastage. It's at the farm gate. Can we actually solve this at the source? And who are the farmers? And we saw all the women working on the field. So we said that we need to solve for them and not want them. If we want them as a stakeholder, we have to go to their situation, like, which is design thinking, solve for them, put customer at the center. So we initially started by providing only technology, but we realized that to solve all these three bigger problems of wastage, poverty, alternate income for farmers, clean technology for processing, we need to create an entire ecosystem that transforms farmers to become processors. because the farmers are growing the produce, but they are not earning anything by processing it. They are just selling the fresh produce. Sometimes that also goes in losses because of perishability, lack of infrastructure, no storage, price fluctuation. So a lot of times they also lose their produce. Also, processing is done by small and medium scale enterprises. The value addition that happens, which is converting potato to potato chips. Potato chips is 130 rupees INR per kg, and potato is 5 rupees INR a kg. So this big 60 times difference is the capturing of that value is done by another player in this ecosystem. Why cannot farmers have that, who are growing the produce, get this opportunity to start processing and earn an alternate additional source of income? So that's where we started working at the intersection of all these things. And as much as it sounds very topical or the buzzwords, I truly believe that the beauty of this organization is because we are solving for so many of these things through one solution, providing clean tech, a solar powered food processing device at the farm gate for women to process the produce, give them assured additional income, doubling down their household income, aggregating this produce and selling it to food and beverage industry.
And helping to, I imagine, transform in the process certain mindsets about who does what, who can do what, and helping people gain that confidence that it can be different and that we can identify solutions that will, I mean, I love your framing of kind of the win, 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 and we could probably name some other wins. Tell me a story. Tell me a story about someone that you've interacted with where that's kind of been the case. We met this individual or this family, and this was the situation. And through our work, it resulted in X. I mean, I'd love to hear a story because it sounds fascinating.
This is when we met Prabhavati Tai. She is from village of Hatmali in Aurangabad. I would want to describe her as a women leader, but the right word for her would be a giver. She relentlessly works for other women in her village also, giving them the support, opportunity, ideas, and taking that leap of faith, taking that risk, and has good support from her village, other village members, because how she has been the risk taker, the dark horse in the village as a woman so many years back, taking a lot of unconventional route. And we met her, and at that point of time she was struggling. She had challenges again related to financial challenges, and she took up this charge of processing. Our first set of units were set up in her village. These 4 women used to come together and work, and Prabhavati Tai used to lead it. We used to literally get updates that they have finished the task in half the time and were asking more. And they were very diligent in their work. They also earn a good amount of income. But the most satisfying thing for me was that from the income that she earned, she was able to send her child, Amol Patul, to a college in the city for pursuing his education. And this same child today works with us as a logistics and warehousing manager. And we've seen this entire arc of how this income has been catalytic in changing the economical situation of her family.
Yeah, her family and her son. And that's such a wonderful story that now her son is actually working with you to advance the mission.
Absolutely. And that also shows he studied journalism, he could get employment anywhere, but he's also putting his faith back in us. And that's where you see this circle to be complete. And I think we're very fortunate to have seen such stories where these women today are flag bearers for their family to come out of poverty.
Well, and what a wonderful mission to have. Again, just how you're describing it, there are 4 or 5 things happening. Talk about innovation. I love anytime I'm in conversation with someone where what they're working on has multiple wins across multiple spaces, and that effort is producing so many different good, wonderful results for the people, for the community, for the world. I just have so much respect for what you're working on, what you're building, what you're creating, you and that team with their superpowers, right? As we kind of wind down our time today, what I would love to know is, what have you been reading, consuming, or streaming? What do you listen to that keeps you in a state of learning, that keeps you in a state of developing your own skills and growing? Is there something that's caught your eye in recent times that you've really enjoyed?
Yeah, I think someone who has just graduated with bachelor's, I felt very insecure about not being capable enough a lot of times to lead and be in self-doubt. I think from day one, my mission has always been that the core, the meat, which is the knowledge, can never be less. So I learn both from field and experiences and execution, and also by consuming ample amount of content about wide variety of topics. So I enjoy business as well as finance. And I'm recently drawn towards technology. So I've been reading The Cold Start Problem. I have it here with me. It's by Andrew Shen, which gives us a lot of good methodologies on and structured ways of approaching our go-to market of our business. So these are the 3 sort of different areas where I learn from. And I learn from both podcasts. I learn from Twitter. I think that these days Twitter threads are great ways of learning. I also subscribe to a lot of Substacks. Weekly basis, I'm enjoying my reading. So I really like long form reading, and I consume various different sources and authors that I read. I also like to read about other businesses and what their journey has been. So
I love that you've kind of curated the learning. Sometimes people communicate about social media as a toxic place, and of course it can be. I think we can also curate, for instance, my Twitter feed is primarily people I would like to consume. So what I'm consuming on Twitter is primarily kind of uplifting, educational thought leaders that really help me think differently, right? So curating that, now we're not creating an echo chamber necessarily, but we're curating our learning in a way, or we're using that tool as a learning tool. And then I also just love how you're thinking about looking to other businesses and what connections can we make from over here or there that might apply in our space, in our world. And that work is just fascinating to me as well. You know, on this podcast, I talk to a lot of academics, and I love speaking with academics. I just do. But just as much, I love speaking with people who are out in the world each and every day, making the world a better place, who are engaging in leadership. I'm so thankful for our time today. I'm so thankful for the work that you and your team are doing to make the world a better place, to literally transform lives and help communities thrive. Because at times, like we said, sometimes what the traditions have been or what the norms have been in those communities isn't helping them thrive. And how do we help that work be done, right?
absolutely. I do believe that this is a shared responsibility.
Yep.
I am very aware of my privileges. I do believe that we collectively, if this is done, the world would be a better place.
Yep.
And we want to use our lives, our superpowers in the right ways.
I'm happy that we have superheroes like you and the team. And thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for dropping in today and spending a little bit of time with me. And be well. Thank you so much, Nidhi. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scott.
Be well. I hope you've enjoyed these conversations with people out there in the world doing the work, whether that's Sarah Safari, who is actually on Mount Everest as I record this on May 8th, or other recent conversations that I have had with physicians in Pakistan, Canada, and of course this story also, individuals changing the world. Science for Society, building India's only full-stack food processing platform, but then also going for this win-win-win-win-win, reducing food loss, empowering women farmers, preventing carbon emissions, really serving customers. I mean, I think it's incredible. And not only do I love that they're helping the world, but I love that there are so many wins embedded in their model, in the design of what they're doing. So we have these 7 co-founders, and they each have their own superpowers working together to unlock value for customers, farmers, and the environment. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you're intrigued. I hope it sparked some thoughts in you. How do you design an intervention that has multiple wins embedded and helps the world in some way? That is the practical wisdom for leaders here. As always, be well. Take care. Thank you for listening. Share this podcast with others if you find value. And as always, thanks for checking in. You have just finished another episode of Practical Wisdom for Leaders with Scott Allen. To contact me, visit scottjallen.net or send me a note at scott@scottjallen.net. I'm also on LinkedIn, so let's connect. If you have feedback, I'd love to hear it. And as always, thank you so much for listening. And now here's my daughter, Emily, with the outro.
You've been listening to Phronesis, Practical Wisdom with Scott Allen.